back. Today I'll be discussing my 2017 reading resolutions. Every year I set a Goodreads goal, and last year was 150 books. This year I'm only setting it to 100. I want to focus more on quality over quantity, and just setting it at 100 is sort of just still a motivating factor for me to kind of keep reading, but not to really challenge myself to read a bunch of books. I just want to make sure I'm still constantly kind of reading whenever I have a chance, and just focus on some really good books this year, a little less maybe on the manga. In addition to that, I'm going to, once again, just kind of have a little chart here where I'm going to keep track of the ebooks I read. I have several books on my Nook and Kindle devices that I would like to get to, so I want to read at least 5 ebooks this year. I also have a chart of 10 classic books that I want to get to, and I'll be checking those off as I read them. I'll just show you the books really quick, and again, I may read other classics that aren't on this list, that's fine, but I want to read at least 5 from the list, because those are books I own sitting on my shelves. One of those is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, a utopian tale of the future. There are genetically bred humans, pharmaceutically anesthetized to serve a ruling order, is how it's described. I really don't know much more about it. Never read it in school, but curious to get to it. I have 2 books by the same author, Wilkie Collins. One of them is The Moonstone, and I purchased this recently because of its sort of ties to a book I just finished called The Suspicions of Mr. Witcher, which was a true crime book about one of the first detectives. And in the introduction to this book, it says Wilkie Collins sort of squirreled away the details of that notorious case that's featured in that book. 7 years later, Inspector Witcher was mutated into Sergeant Cuff, the bloodstained nightgown into a paint-stained nightgown, and the murder into the theft of an Indian diamond called the Moonstone. So she took that case, the facts of that case, twisted it, created this book. So Detective Inspector Witcher was the inspiration for her detective. I'm kind of curious to find out how that went. Also, one of our other books that I've had longer than that is The Woman in White, and this one described as the first and greatest of the best-selling Victorian thrillers. This was described as the first, the longest, and the best of the modern English detective, so first and best all around, I guess, and have yet to read any of them, so we'll see. But it says it opens with a chilling encounter between a drawing teacher and a ghostly female figure on a moonlit road. That grabbed my attention, so hopefully I'll be able to get to one of these by Wilkie Collins. I recently picked this one up, and I have yet to haul it, but this is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I know absolutely nothing about this particular classic. I saw this cover even though it was slightly beat up. This is one of the Penguin Classic Deluxe editions, and it just looked really, really intriguing with that cover. And again, I've not read anything by this author either, so I'm looking forward to trying his works. A bit of a beast here coming up. This is Moby Dick or the Whale by Herman Melville. Again, I have not had a chance to ever read this book, and it might take me some time to read it once I do start. But I really love this particular edition. It's a used book. It's been written in and everything. I don't really care, though. I love the illustrations throughout it. I just thought they were just fantastic. Like I said, you can see some of the writing throughout it. But when you get to that one this year, that'll be like probably one of my more challenging reads. I saw this one at a used bookshop. It's a strange manuscript found in Copper Cylinder by James DeMille. Canadian author. It's 4 sailors discover a copper cylinder containing a manuscript written by the adventurer Adam Moore, who was shipwrecked in the southern hemisphere. They read its contents out to one another, and the incredible story unfolds of his journey to a lost world which survives at the foot of a volcano. This strange utopian society in which humans coexist with prehistoric animals is the antithesis of Victorian England, as poverty is preferred to wealth and darkness to light. So that sounded really interesting. Like I said, I'd never heard of it before, but give that one a try. And I've always wanted to read something by Franz Kafka, The Trial. I've heard mentioned in lots of other books and things before, but have never had a chance to read it, so curious about it. It's a terrifying tale of Joseph K., a respectable bank officer who's suddenly and inexplicably arrested and must defend himself against a charge about which he can get no information. Whether read as an existential tale, a parable, or a prophecy of the excesses of human bureaucracy, wedded to the madness of totalitarianism. Kafka's nightmare has resonated with chilling truth for generations of readers. So that sounds pretty intriguing. Hopefully I get to that. And another author I've never read, but it's about time I start, and that would be Jane Austen. I'm going to begin with her first novel, Northanger Abbey. I seen a movie version of this quite some time ago, so I'm slightly familiar with the story. Just to give you a quick description of it, it says It tells the story of Catherine Morland and her dangerously sweet nature, innocence, and sometimes self-delusion. Though Austen's fallible heroine is repeatedly drawn into scrapes while vacationing at Bath and during her subsequent visit to Northanger Abbey, Catherine eventually triumphs, blossoming into a discerning woman who learns truths about love, life, and the heady power of literature. I do remember her being totally enthralled with Gothic literature and just her imagination and things, and it was pretty funny too. So looking forward to finally delving into some Austen. And the last two classics I have both kind of deal with shipwrecks. One is Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, one of the Penguin English Library editions, which I really love. And it was his the first English novel. Regarded as the first English novel. Robinson Crusoe is a work that goes to the heart of human existence. I did not know that was described as the first English novel. Okay. And the other shipwreck one is the Swiss Family Robinson by Johann David Weiss? Weiss? I don't know. This is one of the Barnes & Noble children's classics, and this was actually on their clearance sale, so I snatched it up. It was only $2. It has some color illustrations within the books, and looking forward to reading that one. So that's done with the classics, and then the other goal I set was another 10 books for my TBR that I'd like to get to. I have the list written out again, and I can check them off as I go and see my progress, which I'll try to share with you guys throughout the year. Maybe some updates or something. First off is a book by Kate Atkinson. I read Life After Life by her and God in Ruins this past year. Absolutely loved it. I saw this one. This is her first novel that came out. This is Behind the Scenes at the Museum. And I've actually already begun it. I'm on page 30. I'm actually loving it already. It's described here. Ruby Lennox begins narrating her own life at the moment of her conception, and from there takes the reader on a whirlwind tour of the 20th century as seen through the eyes of a girl determined to learn more about her family and the secrets it keeps. It literally begins, the first sentence, I exist. I am conceived to the chimes of midnight on the clock on the mantelpiece in the room across the hall. And so it's told in this first-person narrative, but the narrator also is sort of all-knowing. Even while she's still in the womb, she has conscience of what her mother is dreaming and things going on around her, so it's really interesting and just totally captivating already. I'm hooked. Another one I've been wanting to read, because I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but I don't really know a whole lot about it. It's just The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. Again, I've got this as a used edition. I think it's the UK version. Yeah. On an autumn day in 1686, 18-year-old Nella Ortman arrives at a grand house in Amsterdam to begin her new life as the wife of wealthy merchant Johannes Brandt. Though curiously distant, he presents her with an extraordinary wedding gift, a cabinet-sized replica of their home. It is to be furnished by an elusive miniaturist whose tiny creatures ring eerily true. And as Nella uncovers the secrets of her new household, she realizes the escalating dangers they face. The miniaturist seems to hold their fate in her hands, but does she plan to save or destroy them? So, I mean, it sounds interesting to me. Like I said, some people seem to really love it, and some people not so much, so hopefully get to that one. I've got another book by Dave Eggers, the author of The Circle, which I absolutely love that book, and it's called You Shall Know Our Velocity. And I literally know nothing about this. There's just this one little tagline at the back that sort of intrigued me. $32,000 must be given away in a week around the world, but why? That's all I know about the book. Again, it's kind of a thin one, but I really liked his other book, so I thought I would give it a shot. Another author I've never read before, it's Italo Calvino, If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler. It's Italy's most inventive writer. It shows that the novel, far from being a dead form, is capable of endless mutations. If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler turns out to be not one novel but 10, each with a different plot, style, ambience, and author, each interrupted at a moment of suspense. Together they form a labyrinth of literatures known and unknown, alive and extinct, through which two readers, a male and a female, pursue both the storylines that intrigue them and one another. I don't know. Give it a try. I want to finish the rest of the Lord of the Rings book, and I'll be continuing with part 2, The Two Towers, and hopefully finishing it off with part 3, The Return of the King. I read The Fellowship of the Ring last year as sort of part of Strip Cover Lit's read-along, and I do want to go ahead and finish the rest of it. Then there's Don DeLillo's White Noise, very prolific author who I've never read before. This one seems to be one people talk about the most, and I'm hoping it won't be totally over my head. Jack Gladney teaches Hitler studies at a liberal arts college in Middle America, where his colleagues include New York expatriates who want to immerse themselves in American magic and dread. Jack and his fourth wife, Babette, bound by their love, fear of death, and four ultramodern offspring, navigate the usual rocky passages of family life to the background babble of brand-name consumerism. Then a lethal black chemical cloud floats over their lives, an airborne toxic event unleashed by an industrial accident. The menacing cloud is a more urgent and visible version of the white noise engulfing the Gladney family, like radio transmissions, sirens, microwaves, ultrasonic appliances, etc., etc. So, like I said, this may be over my head, I don't know, but I'm going to give them a shot. And then probably speaking of giving a shot, this is the last shot I'm going to give to this particular author, whom, I don't know, most of his books I don't quite get, I don't know. It's Haruki Murakami. This is Kafka on the Shore. It's the last book I own by him. It says Kafka I could talk today. Kafka Tamura runs away from home at 15 under the shadow of his father's dark prophecy. The aging Nakata, tracker of lost cats, who never recovered from a bizarre child's affliction, finds his pleasantly simplified life suddenly turned upside down. As their parallel odyssey unravel, cats converse with people. There's always cats in his books. Fish tumble from the sky, a ghost-like pimp deploys a haggle-spouting girl of the night, a forest harbors soldiers apparently unaged since World War II. There's a savage killing, but the identity of both victim and killer is a riddle, one of the many which combine to create an elegant and dreamlike masterpiece. I don't even know if I understood the synopsis, let alone if I will understand the book, but I'll give it a try. One of the last two books I have is John Baird and Kevin Costner's The Explorers Guild Volume 1, and yes, I did say Kevin Costner. The book just caught my attention when I first saw it. It's part graphic novel, it's illustrated, it's got this antique kind of finish to it, and it says it captures sort of the golden age of adventure, like from Kipling. There's an old world gentleman's club which operates a more mysterious organization known as the Explorers Guild, a clandestine group of adventurers who bravely journey to those places in which light gives way to shadow and reason is usurped by myth. As World War I rages, the guild embarks on a quest to find Shambhala. Yeah, it just sounded super interesting, and the illustrations are just absolutely beautiful, so I'm going to go ahead and check that one out. And one of the last ones I hope to get to, and the most challenging of all the books, is House of Leaves by Daniel Lewski. I never finished S, which was one of my other most challenging reads last year by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. I got about halfway through that. I'm still determined to kind of finish it sometime. Maybe I'll be picking that up. This book, just by its format alone, you know, with pages that have hardly any text to others that are just jam-packed to these things you have to read in a mirror because they're backwards, quite a challenging read, so I don't know. But I hear people say it's super scary about this house that's like bigger on the inside, this strange manuscript, and it's like a story within a story. I'm intrigued enough to want to give it a shot, but it's gonna take a lot of time, I think. That one I'll be able to read in like probably a month's worth. But that's it. Those are my goals for this year. I'll try and keep you guys updated throughout the year, and let me know if you guys have any goals, what they might be. Let's talk down in the comments. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.